Yes, yes, she's doing pretty good. She's in a little bit of pain now. But she done real well though, and they were trying to do some better. I was worried about it. He gives Mama a credit, but he didn't buy food right. But she done real good.
He gave me well way more than what I thought I'd give myself trouble.
Right, but then he went back and off the top price. I mean, so it works out. That's whatever you do, but she's always been there. Your granddaughter can tell you, they live across the road from you. They know my mom. When we come back, I had a time, well, I kept my mouth shut. She fussing the nurses. I said, no, I can't, I'm not doing that, but I ain't doing that. I just sat there. But that's the thing, then she'd have busted me, because I know, I'm gonna go back.
He always done better on stuff I thought I can get any other thing to do.
Oh, yeah. They don't.
Well, as far as you know. Well, Fargo don't do things like yours.
But no, when I said so firm like that, and she blesses me. I don't know where my mama is. I don't. I thought I got Mr. Coffee off. Do now. Marty said, I give him a coffee.
And he was like, what will you do?
I mean, I know about, there's nothing wrong with somebody being, there's nothing wrong with being pleased, but there's a time and a place. You come out and say, woo! Because I told myself, look, I want to act in the house, and I said, when I can't do that, but that's all they do, I can't do that. So I said, you know what I done? I went on it, for me. I said, if she loves you something, I need to call her. You got something else? Mama said, please, you need to get the grocery store. She said, no, you need to get it out there. He said, no, that's wrong. I'll call her every day. I was like, you know, that's fine. I'm going to slip my distance for a while. I can't, I'm not doing that.
We can't do that.
I got some, and Avery said, I work every day. You want me to come?
Like, Lord, I got a wife sitting in the yard. We can talk.
Yeah, but my mom, I did. He said, you don't know my mom. He said, you need to live with my mom.
All right. Good. Pick him up good. And he's slow lady. That might be good thing. You say she needs to be slow. What did she say? What did she say? Oh my goodness, great. Praise the Lord. I can't believe you said. So you say your face is perfect?
No, I didn't say that.
Marty, tell him to I'm not sure about my mom.
Oh, her mama's, she's start right with it. Her mama's.
Marty will tell you, I'm not.
She got paper on her, she's certified.
I know she didn't always
Well, we were rolling it all the time. He didn't have a bite of ball. He didn't. We told her a couple of people to come back.
Don't care. Hey, people take care of it.
Russell like, I'm not giving it to you. I ain't gonna hurt it.
I opened it up, I said, Mom, I put all this junk in there. So I said, take it. I've got the wood behind my ear. Nope. I said, we'll drive you this cake on this side. And then bring it back and say, I said, we got to do something that
All the seats. I told him, I said, seats back. I paid the seats. Let's go stop the gas in.
Look, I said, I put the gas, I got to go.
said somebody in his family that died. I said, who? He says, I don't know.
Oh, you
She
not
didn't really say that, didn't she? What you doing? Oh, okay. I said, that's my
Alright, first off, if you visitors, excuse my dress, but this is not my full fit dress. It was good. But this
That makes you
month,
look well. Just saying.
Are you sure you want to be up there now, Perry?
huh?
Are you sure you want to be up there now after you said that?
I'm on a bed, I ain't on it. But this month is Pastor Appreciation Day, and we got a little something for him and Becky. Tell them how much we appreciate them so far. Yeah.
Oh, that
Before listening to Becky.
She come up to us.
Yeah, Becky needs to come up there.
Just got y'all.
We're gonna get it all.
Wait till it. Better hurry up over there. Anytime I talk about you in the pulpit last week, I'm gonna let you go.
How far did it
Yeah, Becky's got to read the form.
Okay. He said, here's your order, sir, 1,000 business cards saying Simon the fisherman. Later that day, Simon, from now on, you shall be known as Peter. You never know what Jesus or your church will throw at you. Thanks for being our pastor. Love your sheep.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Oh, that shouldn't get to
No. Hey, all right, good enough. Thank y'all. She don't need nothing. She don't
He
need
just
nothing.
put up the form. You must have put those in my pocketbook. Because he's gonna lay them down one by
Hey,
Thank y'all.
Becky,
Thank y'all
we
very
did
much.
that yesterday, didn't
We
we?
did.
You bought her something?
That's right.
Let's get our handles and stamp say pay 421.
That's right. That's right.
We'll
Want to welcome everyone this morning. It's about time for announcements and prayer list. Anybody got any announcements?
I have, well, just a question. I don't know who's in charge of putting the list back there so we can sign up for January for the next year for doing the signs outside. But I'm just thinking.
We'll get it out there.
It's through February, because I know, we've got
Oh, it's
February.
through February? Okay.
I think it's the whole year, wasn't it?
We just gonna keep the same months every
This
year?
year?
They just keep the same
That would be
month.
fine with me.
Yeah, just keep the same months.
February. We have February.
Wow, man.
We've never done it before.
All right.
I just had to think.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, we don't get to move our thing, I don't have time for our Sunday school, so we don't get to move
We going down,
it.
so.
Down. We got church house meeting, right? Sorry.
Okay. Anybody got any?
Announcements. We got, we're feeding the football team Friday. Anybody's bored and they got nothing to do, we sure could use the help. So we're gonna make about 150 barbecue sandwiches,
What
baked
time?
beans, 2 or 3 gallons of baked beans.
What time will we be here? Sandy's?
What time do you think the meat's gonna come out? He's gonna get up before he goes to work, put the meat on, let the meat cook while he's working 4 hours of work. So meat should come out about lunchtime.
Can I get you late things like,
I've already bought,
you would have bought this?
yeah, I bought 2 gallons yesterday. I need another one. I got everything.
Okay.
She just needs to
So
start.
you just-
Yeah, I just need people, I need hands, I guess, to make that many sandwiches.
Chopped meat, corned beans, baked potatoes.
I got,
Potatoes.
30 pounds of potatoes. I got diced up like for potato salad, so. Well, I dice them like potato salad. Like potato salad.
Okay.
So, I mean, if there's anybody that can help, it'll be after lunch sometime, but we feed them at,
3:30.
at 3:30
At the school.
at the school.
Okay.
So, between 12 and 3:30, we can use some help.
I guess we're gonna get out of it pretty fast because they got,
How'd y'all do it last week? Did they get them out of the lunchroom pretty fast? Y'all just had one side, they had the other
On
eating?
one side and they're on the other.
Okay, so.
Y'all will be on the bathroom side, and she takes pictures on the door side.
On what?
On like the going out the door side, and we just take that back little corner.
Okay,
She doesn't need much room, I mean, it's
Okay, all right.
just a cloth.
all right. So
But
yeah, so
they
we'll
all,
be in at 3:30.
and all the boys are toward the front of the, cafeteria where the, stage is.
okay. Anybody else got an announcement? Not you see the middle of a bulletin and on the screen, a prayer list, and anybody to be added, take it away.
The prayer list will be reset next week. Unless you just, unless there's some objections to it, we'll just reset it.
Yes, ma'am.
How about the Georgia Pacific employees who are just to do that,
In McCormick.
McCormick and Allen.
You can call that right.
I knew it was two.
And me and Kathy and Mary and Miss Sandy rode up yesterday to see Mr. Carl. He's settled in into his alternative care home. Took us a while to find him once we got there. There's so many confusing buildings. But anyway, we finally got to him. He's in a nice place. Need to keep Mr. Carl in your prayers though, because he's staying in his room way too much and not getting out and socializing. And, you know, we kind of got on him about it and said, you know, he.
Is that like a nursing home?
Well,
Facility.
it's a nursing home, but he's got his own like private bath.
Assisted living.
Yes, assisted living. But he's got his own private bathroom. We were sitting in his room. It's a very nice facility, very, very pretty. But he just, he's just kind of sitting in his room and not getting out. And I wish he was doing a little bit more of that. So if y'all get a chance to ride and see him, it took us about an hour and 20 minutes to get there. So it doesn't take long at all to get there. He's not far off the interstate. It's Social Circle. Y'all take the time sometime or other just to go visit. That's sitting for days and days in and never go anywhere, never see anybody. You can get to anybody.
Yeah, he got a big place over here too, but I don't know who got that place. They do a fine job keeping it neat. I don't know.
He told me that you didn't want the women, but he said they were all too old.
Yeah, he's so too old. He was a young woman.
Anybody got anything else we brought up? If not, Scott, that's wrong. You lift these up in prayer and we'll continue the service.
Lord, we're so grateful to be in your house, Lord, and Lord, for the many blessings that we do have here at this church. We're forever grateful, Lord, and for the names that are on the sick list to shut in, Lord, and for the special prayers needed in this community, Lord. We know that you know their needs better than anybody, Lord. And just continue to lead us and guide us and bless us in everything we do here at this church, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Page 407, it's all stand. Page 407. 407.
Just let Dinah sing.
Do it a cappella.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
533 then.
That's it, right?
533.
Yeah, no, you'd have to ask me, and I'd have to tell you what to do.
It's a hard word.
Come up with a song, but I don't know them songs. Y'all in that book don't mean I know them. Some of them songs. Some of them songs, folks. I gotta learn. Good morning.
Good morning.
How y'all? Is it a good morning?
Yes.
It is. We are very grateful to have Kristen with us this morning. She has been a blessing for us on Wednesday night. We really enjoy having her. We love having her here this morning. I'm glad you're here. We're happy to have you. Good to have Doug with us this morning. This morning's message is going to be boom, boom, boom. 4 times, 4 verses. The name of this morning's message is what 4 verses can say. There will be a verse read by a volunteer that does not know they're going to be a volunteer. So do have your Bibles ready. It will not be an easy one to find, so be prepared. But there is a verse coming that I'm going to ask you to read. you may get asked. Just giving you a heads up. Just giving you a heads up. That's all I'm doing. That may even be a hint. Okay? It may be. It may be a hint. I might just give you a little heads up that you might be the one that gets asked. But it may not be. It may not be. What can 4 verses say? What do we call when we're talking about introducing someone to the Lord? We have a particular set of verses that we use sometimes. Anybody tell me what it is? Romans Road. That's exactly right. Romans Road. Somebody give me some verses from the Romans Road. Give me the first verse from the Romans Road. Romans 3:23. Give me the next one. Somebody.
6:23.
6:23. That's exactly right. Give me the next one.
5:8.
There you go. And the next?
10:9.
There you go. All right, good enough. We're all the way from the point. We're all the way from the point of knowing about sin to confessing with our mouths. We just went through that quick. Well, we're going to break it down in another place in Scripture this morning that I've never actually seen, but it's explained so very, very cool. In Scripture this morning, we're going to be in a story that a lot of us know. Felicia, tell me something about the prodigal son. I don't care anything about the whole entire story. Just tell me one thing about the whole entire story of the prodigal son. One thing about it. Doesn't matter what it is. He left home. Somebody tell me something else. Something about the prodigal son. He come back. He left home. He come back. And he throws his money away. He throws his money away. Okay. Exactly right.
With the swine.
He ended up with the swine. And that's going to be very important, Mr. Bill. Very important that we remember that. That is a very important thing about this morning's message. Is there anybody here that's never heard the story of the prodigal son? Anybody? You can raise your hand in church. Ain't gonna hurt that. All right? Okay, so everybody's heard the story of the prodigal son. So if I ask Doug right now to give me 5 more points on the prodigal son, he's gonna be all over it. No, I'm just joking. I am gonna get your mama. I am gonna do that. All right, so we know things about the prodigal son, but did you realize that inside the story of the prodigal son is the story of salvation? And if you look at it from a point of looking at Romans Road, the whole entire thing is in 4 verses. And they're just back to back to back to back. It is so important that we understand how simple coming to know the Lord can be. How simple His plan of salvation is for our lives. How simple it is that we realize things, and how once we realize it, we look back and say, golly, why didn't I think about that before? Why did I make such a mess of it? Why did I think I had to do all these things when all I had to do was just one thing? We've got to understand how simple it can be to come to know Christ. It's just in our face every day. We see what this world is going through. We see what's happening in this world. We see that in this world today that there is such a turning away from God. We're beginning to see it now. The older folks in here is beginning to see it because they can see the change from when the older, Mr. Ira, you were in 1950, you were how old? 10 years old. So say 1955, when you started coming of age of understanding what life was all about. At 15 years old, has this United States that you know of changed any from the time you was 15 years old to the time it is right now?
Yes.
It changed just a little bit now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Felicia, you said it changed. Hey, you just said, all right, you're how old now? 21. So even Felicia's seen a change. So from the time Mr. Ira was 15 to now, he's seen a change. Felicia's also seen a change. It's changing so quick that we can see it within a generation. That's how quick everything is changing. It is amazing what you hear on the news today about the things that you thought of that maybe when Mr. Ira was 15 years old, if somebody walked up to you on the street and say, hey, did you know that one day the rainbow is going to represent something that has nothing to do with what God's rainbow is? Did you know that one day there will be clinics put up that women can go in and take care of things that they don't want? What would these things represent? What were they representing then? What are they going to be representing now? Would you realize the changes that have come into effect, the things that have happened? We live in a society that is introducing a modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. A modern day version of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what we're going to. And what's happened is, and it's even a verse in here, and it's the very verse I'm going to get Sandra to read. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a little heads up. Since it's a real hard verse to read, you may kind of go ahead and give you a heads up on what it might be. Doug, you may have to have it fine. Okay. Ecclesiastes 9:3. Ecclesiastes. No, nobody else turn. Nobody else turn. No need. No, nobody else. I'm just being really nice to Sandra right now. Being really nice. Sometimes it might be Tyler I fuss at the church. Not today. It's going to be Sandra. But. So, the story of the prodigal son. To put the whole thing in a nutshell. In a nutshell. Did the son have everything he ever needed when he was still at home with his dad?
Yeah.
Had it all. Had it all. He had it all. There wasn't nothing he needed he didn't have. Would you say that at some point in time the son became selfish?
Probably so.
Yeah, he did. He didn't just want what his dad had already given him. He wanted everything that was owed to him.
Took it for granted.
Took it for granted. He took it for granted. How much do we take for granted today? I went back the other day and I had a prayer with the group that was getting ready to leave to go down yonder, and one thing occurred to me. Do y'all realize how much God has provided for us so that we may in turn provide for them? Think about that. Think about what we have. Think about what we throw away that other people would be digging in trash cans to get out. And we throw it away. Simply because we've had enough. It's bad when you throw food away when you've eaten it so much that you just don't want it no more. When other people would love to have just a giblet of what you got. We are a blessed country. A blessed country. But yeah, the prodigal son, this is a bad cat. He wanted it all. He wanted it then. He wanted his inheritance. He wanted it all at one time. And he wanted to not just use for good. What did he want to do with it? What did he do with his inheritance? He blew it. That's exactly right. Maybe the racist said blew his money. That's exactly right. So, let's go to Luke. We're going to be in Luke chapter 15. And we're going to read a few things. We're going to read a few things this morning. And we're going to read a few verses. And then we're going to look at 4 very, very important verses. We're going to break them down. We're going to call it a day. We've got a lot going on today. I know that crowd's going to need some prayers for them going down there and doing what they're doing today. But we're going to read the story of the prodigal son. And we're not going to read the whole entire thing. We're going to read the first part of it. And I'm going to stop. When we get down to verse 19. After verse 19, there's no need going any further for today and what we're talking about. So, in Luke 15, chapter 11, Luke 15, verse 7, verse 11, Luke 15, verse 11, Luke 15, verse 11, it says this, Jesus continued, there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, Father, give me my share of the estate. So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together with all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him any. When he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. So he got up and went to his father. Let us pray. Father, we come to you this morning, we thank you for this time. Father, I thank you for each and every one here in church today. I thank you for the ones that put aside their life this time to come in and share in your Holy Spirit, Lord, share in your word, to be with one another, and just to fellowship together. Father, I pray that this message goes out there and touches a heart that is willing to hear it, a heart that is willing to listen, a heart that is willing to take it in, Lord. I also want to raise up the ones that was on the prayer list this morning. I want to raise up the ones and ask for safe traveling mercies for the ones going to Augusta to feed the homeless, to feed the hungry, to feed the ones in need. Father, we're talking about a son right here that was actually in need. And one of the things he was hungry. Father, I pray that today in your church, in your house, there's someone hungry for your word. Father, you tell us that your bread, that the bread is not enough to sustain a man. The water is not enough to sustain a man, but your word is what sustains us. Your word is what keeps us. Your word is what saves us. Father, just thank you for this time, and we ask that you continue to bless us in the way that you already have. And we ask these things in Christ's beautiful and holy name. Amen. Okay, so he's come in, he has squandered everything. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but I learned that in 4 verses, if we just look at 4 verses this morning, we're going to see the whole entire makeup of the Romans road in 4 verses back to back to back. I've also got a word, Tony, I just want to make sure you're there. You're there, right? Okay, Tony's got a word for us this morning that he's going to explain. Sandra, I was nice to you. I'm not being nice to Tony right now, okay? I'm not being nice to Tony. I'm being ugly to Tony right now because I'm fixing to get Tony to explain to us a word that's in his Bible, okay? So Tony, if you don't mind, would you please read to us out of the King James, verse 16.
And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him.
Very good. Tell me exactly what fain means.
I know
Somebody had going.
He was trying to strive for it. He wanted.
He wanted. That's exactly right. He desired. He desired. He was willing to have. He was glad to have. He was glad to have. But let's look and see what he was glad to have. What was he glad to have? He longed, which is another word for what? Desire. A word for wanting something passionately. That's the word long. That's what that word long means to me. So he was glad. In the King James, it was saying that he was glad to fill his stomach. And it says, in the NIV, it says he longed to fill his stomach with the what? With the pods that the pigs were eating. What's another word for pods? Husks. That's exactly right. Let me ask y'all something. Has anybody in here eat a husk? What is the husk?
Outside cover.
Husk of the corn. Shut it off. What do you do with the husk? You throw it away. You make cow feed out of it. Yeah, he said the Hispanics make hot tamales out of it. But the thing about it is, husk, as we know it, is a very dry, very tough. You ever got that part of celery before that just don't want to act right? You eat celery and it feels like you got a guitar string in it. Yeah, that ain't good. That ain't good. Could you imagine chewing up a bunch of husk? That's awful. But what does it say about him at this point? Did he want those husks? Yeah, he did. Why did he want those husks? He was hungry. Nobody in here, and I've said this before, nobody in here, I've said it before and I'll say it again, nobody in here knows what it's like to be hungry. Nobody in here. You can't make me believe that you've ever been to such a point in life that you would want to be standing in a field and you had a desire to eat the corn husks that the hogs was leaving behind. Let me tell you something, a hog ain't might be anything. If a hog is leaving it behind, is it much count to eat?
Yes, cucumbers.
Cucumbers.
So really, it's always
They're rooted around.
But yes, cucumbers are good enough to eat.
So we went from corn husks to cucumbers.
You
Okay.
see what?
See how they do me, Tristan? Let's see how they done me. I was on a roll and now I got to get off on this cucumber kick. But for the most part, nobody's in here been hungry enough to eat corn husks. Okay? I've never been hungry enough to eat cucumbers. But I'll never eat a bell water. I ain't crazy about it. I like cucumbers, but cucumbers don't like me. I just put it that way. But yeah, he had a longing to eat the husks. But now, guess what? Guess what? The people in this world that don't know Christ have a longing. They just don't understand yet what they have a longing for. Now, some of us in here can relate to what I'm fixing to say. Some of you may cannot. But for those of us that can appreciate what we're fixing to talk about, remember what I told you I had longing for in my life. And the way I tried to fill it. I had a void in my life, and I tried to fill it with different things. I tried for a few years to fill it with alcohol. I tried for a few years to fill it with motorcycles and being a part of the people that I was in. I tried filling it. I had a longing. I had a desire to fill the void in my chest with something. Let me ask you something. Well, let me tell you something. we will find something to fill that void with. It will be filled with something, be it alcohol, be it relationships, be it drugs, be it gambling, be it pornography, be it something, but it is going to be something, be it food, If I was to fall off the bandwagon, that's the first thing I'd hit is a piece of pie. I mean, that's just the way it is. But here's the deal. We're going to fill the void with something. And look at the last part of that verse, see what the last part of that verse says. But no one gave him anything. This world is not going to give you what you need. This world is not going to give you the food that you need. Oh yeah, you can go to McDonald's and get anything you want to. As long as McDonald's gives it to you the way they want you to have it. Don't ask for something different. But it's true. Is there anybody in here that can never get the kind of food that they want? Everybody in here can get what they want. And a lot of stuff out there you might want, you just don't know it yet because you ain't never tried, like sushi. I mean, you know, hey. If you've never tried, you don't know what you're missing. Everybody's out. Tell them about it. No. Look, I went in there with Jake, Ron, and Bud. They just couldn't believe all that big old plate of good food I had. They just couldn't believe it. Little octopuses with the little hands sticking all out and everything, you know, and they got in this nice little sauce and just, wow, good stuff.
And the world knows it too, because when you go to other countries, they try to impress you with what they don't
Absolutely.
have to throw it in front of you.
Absolutely.
And I've noticed that.
But it's what they're giving you what you need. No. This man was hungry. This man would eat the husk that the corn come out of, but the world wouldn't give him what he needed. It says it plain day, but no one give him anything. So at the end of the day, does it look like the world cares for any one individual? They do not. They do not. What is the world out for? The world out is for the world. It's simple as that. The world out is for what is out for what Satan wants. Okay? Satan don't want to feed you anything that's good for you. Nothing whatsoever. So it's very important that we remember that in this verse, this longing, this desire, this craving, that we feel it, but we feel it with the right thing. Okay? Got a question for you right quick. Are you comfortable with where you are in life right now? Or are you comfortable with where you are in life right now? And a lot of people really wouldn't know how to answer that. A lot of people would say, well, I haven't achieved what I want to achieve yet. Or I haven't done what I want to do yet. Say, who all's left in school here? Well, listen, you still in school, ain't you? All right, so let's see. If I were to say, are you where you want to be in life right now? You could very easily say, no, I want to get my, what do you call the thing? Yeah, the degree thing. I never got one, but that's what. So you can say that from a student standpoint, you're not where you want to be. Felicia, you done all your schooling, you through all your schooling. You back in it. So you're still looking for getting your degrees and things like that. Okay, is anybody else doing any kind of schooling right now? Anything? Jimmy, that's right. Jimmy, you going back forth to Albany? Yeah, that's right. I could ask you that question. You can say, no, I don't have my degree yet. But what if we talked about life itself? And what if we talked about life in anticipation of death? Life with the anticipation of death. And I were to ask you right now, are you where you want to be in life right now to a point where you're prepared for your death? If I were to ask you that question right now, that's the kind of answer we're looking for. That's what God wants to ask you this morning. He wants to know where you're at in your life. He wants you to ask yourself the question. He wants you to give yourself the answer. And if the answer is not by Him, He wants you to know what the answer is. And that's what this story is telling us today. He's telling us about a person in need. Was the prodigal son in need? Yes, he was. Yes, he was. The prodigal son was very much in need. So, has anybody ever been down in a well before? Down in a well. Been down in a well, Mr. Iron? Yes. Colin, you been down in a well? Yes. I've been, Jimmy, you been down in a well? I've been down in one, not all the way to the bottom. I've been down in it. You know, I was hooked to a rope in the back of Daddy's van, and he backed up, and as he backed up, the further down I went, so he pulled up, and boy, I come out, Chuck, you wouldn't know? You don't think so? You don't think so, Chuck? No. Well, let me ask you something. If you've ever been down in a well and you're actually at the bottom of the well, what have you got to look forward to? Is there anything to see if you look down? Ain't but one way to look, and that's up. What do you see when you look up? If it's daytime, what are you going to see? Light. You're going to see the light. Let me tell you something. This young man that left his daddy, he just been standing in the bottom of the well because there wasn't but one way to look at his life, and that was look up. That's the only way he could look, because he realized he was at the bottom. Okay, he realized at the bottom.
About as low as he
He's about as low as he can get. You ever heard about a snake belly and wagon rut? That's about as low as you can get. That's right. That's exactly right. If you're so low that you need a parachute to jump off a sheet of toilet paper, you done got pretty low. That's pretty bad, okay? So, we realize this is where he's at. Move on. Verse 17. Here we go, Jimmy. Let's roll with it. When he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? Now, there's another version of the NIV that I have on my program that I use. It's called the Reader's Version. The Reader's Version. And basically what it says in the Reader's Version, it says that when he had time to think clearly again. When he had time to think clearly again. What does yours say, Buzz? Does it say kind of the same thing? When it says time to think clearly again, what does yours say?
Same thing, when he finally came to his senses.
Came to his senses. Did anybody have anything other than came to his senses?
came to himself.
Came to himself. That's exactly right. Came to himself. But the NIRV says that when he began to think clearly again. He began to think clearly again. Let me ask you something. Can Satan affect your judgment? Can Satan affect the way you look at things? Can Satan affect the way you think about things? Can Satan present things to you that will make you forget about the God in heaven? Yes, he can. So in a sense, Satan can do what? He can cloud our judgment. He can obscure the things that we're looking at. He can take something that the world sees as beautiful and he can present it to us in just a way that we can't do nothing but keep our eyes on it. And the whole time we're focusing on what he wants us to see, we're taking our eyes off God. Now, this is the interesting part of this whole thing. It says, when he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired servants? Now, at this point in his life, remember who he was. Who was he before he left? He was the master's son. So if he was the master's son before he left, was he above or below the servants? He was above. He was above. Look at this train of thought. How many of my father's hired what? Servants have food to spare. So where is he putting the servants right now in his life? Above him. He's putting the servants in a better place than what he is. So he's beginning to think. He's beginning to see things clearly. He's beginning to come back to himself. Somebody gets knocked out or falls down. Somebody faints. You walk up, you slap them around a little bit, which always seem odd to me, but you slap them around a little bit, and they kind of come back to themselves. They make smelling sauce anymore?
Yep.
About ammonia.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ammonia or whatever. You know how you hit that stuff, they crank that thing, and woo, yeah, they come back to yourself. There you are. When you wake up, there you are. But here's the deal. He was beginning to think a little clearer. He was beginning to see something that he hadn't been seeing. He was beginning to see that he was at a lower point in his life at this point than his actual father's servants were. And now it's time for Sandra to hit us with this real cool verse out of Ecclesiastes. Right? Read it very loud, very clear. I don't want Doug to have to take that thing away when you read it now. I want you to read this thing like you're supposed to. Y'all listen to what she's fixing to say.
This is an evil and all that is done under the sun.
I can't hear you. I can't hear that. People on YouTube can't hear you reading that. Roll with it, Doug.
This is an evil and all that is done under the sun. But one thing that happens to all, truly the hearts of the sons of men are full of evil. Madness is in their hearts while they lie. And after that they go to the dead. But for him who is joined to all the living, there is hope, for a living dog is better than a dead lion.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Doug. You just done that just so I get him to read it to you. Just going to stop real quiet like that. I know you love him that. This is the evil in everything that happens under the sun. Where does it happen at? Everywhere that we know of. Everywhere that we know of. Everywhere that we can fathom, it happens under the sun. The same destiny overtakes all. The hearts of people, listen to what it says, the hearts of people. Have you ever heard those saying, the heart precedes the feeling? What does that mean? What does it say? What does that mean Melissa, what do I mean when I say the heart precedes the feeling? If it's in your heart, whatever's in your heart is going to eventually come out. Whatever's in your heart is going to eventually come out. What is in the heart is going to one day turn into actions. Okay? The world will see it. The hearts of people, moreover, are full of evil. And you say, well, I'm not evil. No, wait a minute. Now be careful how you say that. And then look at the other word it says, and there is what? Madness in their hearts while they live. And afterward they join the dead. Is this talking about people in church? No, it's not. It's not. This is talking about the world. This is talking about the world. This is talking about the unsaved. This is talking about the lost. These are talking about the ones that don't know the Lord. These are the ones that are talking about never ask for forgiveness. The ones that do not know peace of Christ, do not know joy of Christ, do not know anything to do with God. A lot of people you see on TV this day and time, this is the ones they're talking about. Does anybody know anybody on TV right now that you would consider their hearts full of madness? Yeah. Glenda got a good chuckle like that. A lot of madness we see on TV. They can tell you what the word sacrilegious means. What's the word sacrilegious? Sacrilegious. Well, to make it in layman's terms, in the way I can understand it, in a way it's making fun of God. Okay, making fun of God. You realize how many times on TV now people poke fun at God? They make fun of Him. Let me tell you something. All that's going to come back around one of these days. All that's going to come back around. Madness. The world is full of madness. It says it in God's Word. But the ending of this verse says, while they live, and afterward they join the dead. What dead is that talking about? That's the lost. That's the ones that have died, no coming back, no second chances, nothing. They're gone. It's over with. Eternally separated from God. Eternally. Okay? So, now we got to a point of where he realized God had it all, and he's willing to give it. That's what we've got to realize. When you get to that well, you're at the bottom of that well, and just like this boy's done got, he's realizing how bad it is and where he's at. And he's realized that the servants got it better than he do. He realizes now that his father has it all. But he don't realize his father's willing to give it to him. Okay? Do you realize right now what God's wanting to give you? Do you realize what God's wanting to give you? There are Christians sitting in this church. There are Christians sitting in church in Lincoln. There are Christians sitting in church in Lincoln County. There are Christians sitting in church all over the United States that are not allowing God to give them the peace that He wants to give them. They're not allowing God to give them the joy that He wants to give them. They're not allowing God to give them the comfort that He wants to give them. Because they're so attached to what they think is important. They're so attached to what they think is important that they're not allowing God to give them what He wants to give them. The boy's master, the boy's father had everything. He walked away from it. And he's beginning to realize that he's in the wrong place. So Jimmy, let's go ahead to the next verse. Let's go to 18. 18 says, I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. Okay? I'm going to back up and I'm going to say one thing about the previous verse and then we're going to move on. There's a lot of people that sit in church right now and acknowledge everything that the preachers say. They actually believe everything that the preachers say. They actually sit there and they realize that there's a Jesus. They realize that He died for them. They realize they have sin in their life that needs to be atoned for. They realize everything about it, for that's the ones for the lost. The ones that are Christians, they sit in church today and they hear the preachers and they hear me say, look, God wants to give you peace. God wants you to have this. God wants you to have that. But He also asks you to serve. He also wants you to be something other than just somebody sitting on a pew. And you know what? People will sit in church and they will believe everything that I say. They will acknowledge everything I say. They will agree with everything that I say. And then when sermon's over with, they get up and walk out. You don't see them again until the next Sunday. They come back in, they sit down, they hear the same sermon again, and they acknowledge it week in and week out, over and over and over again, and nothing ever happens. Well, guess what? What does it say right here? What does it say He's going to do? It says, I will set out. This is the boy talking. He says, I will set out and go back to my father and say to him. Now, you can believe everything that every preacher ever says about Jesus, about salvation, about what it is to be a member of the body of Christ, about being a servant in church. You can believe all that. You can write down all the notes. You can write down everything you want to. You can just fill your Bible up with notes. You can take books and you can write all this stuff in. You can memorize verses. You can do all these things. But if you never set out to do any of it, what good is it? None. You've done nothing for God. You've done nothing for yourself. You've done nothing for the church. You've done nothing for the lost. But sin. He says, I will set out and go back to my Father and say to him. For those of you that know anything about the story, does he actually do that? He absolutely does. He absolutely does. But now, here's where it gets interesting. Does he admit something in this verse? What does he admit in this verse? Well, listen, what is he admitting in this verse? He was wrong. He was admitting that he's wrong. You know, one of the biggest problems with people in churches today, they don't want to admit they're wrong. They don't want to admit that they've got sin in their life. They don't want to admit that they've done something against God. They don't want to admit that they're the ones that's not perfect and he's the one that is. That's what they're not willing to admit. And until you do that, you're going nowhere but down. As a matter of fact, go find a well and jump in it. Check it out. Judge says no. But that's going to be pleasure compared to what's going to happen to the ones that are not with the Lord when the time of the separation takes place. He says, I will go out and back to my Father's house and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against who? Against you. Do we sin against one another? Absolutely. Do we sin against the church body? Sure we do. Do we talk about one another? Sure we do. Do we have cliques inside church? Sure we do. Do we get on each other's nerves sometimes? Ask Diane if I've ever got on her nerves. Yeah, see, I got to you out there. If Becky was in here, I would ask her, I would say, ask Becky if I've ever got on her nerves. She would say, oh yeah. No doubt about it. Scott, have you ever got on Diane's nerves? And didn't say, oh yeah, well that's cool. Scott's never gotten on your nerves.
You didn't ask me. You asked Scott.
I nod a yes.
Here's the deal. We're not perfect. Church is not perfect. But even in our imperfection, God can use us. Even ain't no need, is it? No, ain't no need. What has just happened? He has realized and he has started to admit that what he's been doing is wrong. And until you admit that something is wrong, God cannot fix it for you. God cannot allow you to work your way through it unless you admit that it's wrong. And I'm talking about all the way from salvation to what you got going on in your life right now. A lot of folks in this church say, but are you at peace right now with everything in your life? If you're not, you got to admit maybe sometimes you've done something wrong leading into why you're not at peace right now. Guess what? Sometimes it actually is our fault. Imagine that. Scott said something that time. I don't know what it was.
Self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted. Do you realize how much the church destroys itself from within? From within. That's why the church falls. It don't fall because the world tears the walls down. It falls because the ones that's in it get so dried up that everybody walks away from the church and it caves in. That's what happens. But yeah, he admits something. He says, yeah, I've sinned. I've done wrong. I've done wrong. I want to tell you to do something today. I have a challenge from Diane all the way to Miss Linda, from racing all the way to Jimmy, from me to Mr. Bill and Tom, all the way down the middle. I want to get you to do something today. I want you to do something. Don't do it for me. Don't do it for your spouse. Don't do it for the ones you love. Do it for you and do it for your relationship with the Lord. I want you to do something today. I want you to admit to God a sin that you have in your life right now. I want you to admit to God a sin that you have in your life. I'm not saying you got to come to the altar and just hoop and holler and carry on and just go out on this whole big old tangent about all the things you've done wrong. Guess what? Most of us already know it. You know, you're not hiding a whole lot of what you're doing. So don't act like you are. But there may be something in your life that's going on. But when it comes time to saying, I have sinned against heaven and against you, just to say that and not do anything about it, is that getting anything done? No. No, it's not. So I want you to admit a sin that you got in your life to God and be specific. Don't just say, I've sinned, Lord. You know I sin all the time, so amen. And you confess. You can go tell your preacher, hey, I confess. And you can go tell you, well, I confess to God that I sinned. No, let's be specific. Let's be specific on sin. Let's really look at something. Verse 19. Let's go ahead and finish this thing up. Let's go ahead and finish this thing up. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Would you say he has failed from grace? He has. He was the son of the master. He is now asking to be a servant of the master. But this verse is broken up into two places. It says, I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Should anybody in here think themselves worthy to be called a child of the Most High God? Absolutely not. Nobody in here is worthy of his grace. Nobody in here is worthy of his love. Nobody in here is worthy of his peace. Nobody in here is worthy of his joy. Not one of us is worthy of anything that God is wanting to give us.
Amen.
But in our imperfection, he is the perfection. In our non-love, he is the love. In our non-structure, he is the rock. We just don't turn to him. We just don't turn to him. Because some of us think that we're not worthy, and we acknowledge it, and we say to ourselves, there's no way a God as powerful as him could ever love somebody like me. When you're exactly the one that he's wanting to love the most, when you say that. When you get down and you're at your bottom, and you're in the bottom of that well looking up, you're the one God's wanting to help the most at that time. But we won't do it. We won't look up. We'd rather walk around with our head down instead of looking up where we can get the answers from. No, we're not worthy. But because of the one that was worthy, that died on the cross, we can all be made a child. Now, here we're going to finish it up. Make me like one of your hired servants. Make me like one of your hired servants. If we look at the whole spectrum of what's just happened, we have a son that had it all. He walked away from it. He squandered it. He done everything he wanted to do from a selfish standpoint. And at the end of it, he realizes that he is going to have joy. He is going to be happy. He's going to have peace. He's going to have comfort. He's going to have love. He's going to have all these things if he can just come back to his Father as a servant. How many of us realize that that is the way that we've got to come to our Father in heaven? How many of us realize that because of what he's done on the cross, we're not given the robe and the crown right now? That it takes time. And it takes a heart willing to do. And it takes a soul willing to serve. We should be asking to be one of God's servants, instead of asking God why we got to serve. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. If you don't get nothing else out of this prodigal son story ever, forget about the brother, forget about the father, forget about the pigs, forget about the squandering, forget about the money, forget about all of it. If you will just take this one verse and realize that God requires something of us when we come to know him, and that he wants us in a humble state of mind to serve him. Not because he makes us, but because we love him and that we should want to. And what do? We sit. We sit, we sour, we soak, and nothing happens. Well, I'm here to tell you today that there's somebody in this church right now that is fighting the Lord in something that he wants them to do. There is something that he wants you to do. There's something that you have the capacity to do today for your Father in heaven because of what he's done for you, and you're not willing to do it. And it's nobody's fault but your own, because you don't have the power to do it, but he can give you the power to do it if you're just willing to do it. This son admitted a lot of things. He had everything, he lost everything, He admitted he done wrong, and he come back, and he come back how? He didn't come back as the Most High Son. How did he come back? He wanted to come back as a servant. Well, we know, if you know anything about the rest of the story, his Lord did not accept him as a servant. But he brought him the robe, and he put the robe on him, and he says, I'm glad you're home, my son. Well, the Lord in heaven is going to do the same thing with you. But you got to have that humility in your heart to come back to your Father, or come to your Father possibly for the first time ever as a servant. So don't think getting saved is all peaches and cream and everything's going to be a wonderful ride. It's all going to be ice cream bottles. It's not. But you know what? There's blessings in serving the Most High God. And there's blessings in coming to know Him as your Father. And I pray that everybody in here is able to do that this day. Father, we come to you now. Thank you for this time. Thank you for the ones that are here. I thank you for the ones that went to feed. I thank you for your simple message. Father, I thank you for the ones that participated this morning. I'm glad to have everybody in here. But at the end of the day, Lord, if we have this wonderful message, if we have this wonderful attendance, if we have this wonderful attention, and nothing gets done about it, then what is today been for? Father, light a fire on us to do what we need to do for you, so that you can work in us, work through us, and show us your love, show us your peace, show us your kindness, show us your heart, and show us your will. Father, you've already put the one on the cross and had to be there. His job is done. His job is done. He's taken on the cross. He's taken on the sins. He's taken on the world and put on his shoulders all the sins of the world, Lord, so that everyone can come to know you. He's done his part. Father, it's high time we do ours. And we ask this prayer this morning. And we ask for this fire to be lit under us this morning. In and through the precious name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Page 321, Ms. Austin.
Pray for the ones that are being fed. And I just appreciate y'all being here today. It means a lot to me. Grace, if you will you please close in a word of prayer?
Lord, we thank you for the